Right, today I want to talk about a subject which is not very topical but very important. I want to talk about a modern day heresy. And then lastly I want to end on a call to action. But first we'll start with a reading from the Gospel of Matthew. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, escorted by all the angels, then he will take his seat on his throne of glory. All nations will be assembled before him, and he will separate people one from another as the shepherd separates sheep from goats. He will place the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left hand. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, "Come, you whom my Father has blessed. Take as your heritage the kingdom prepared for you since the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you made me welcome. Lacking clothes, and you clothed me. Sick, and you visited me. In prison, you came to see me." Then the upright will say to him in reply, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty, or give you a drink? When did we see you a stranger and make you welcome, lacking clothes and clothe you? When did we find you sick or in prison and go and see you?" And the king will answer, "In truth I tell you, in as far as you did this to the least of these brothers of mine, you did it to me." Then he will say to those on his left hand, "Go away from me, with your curse upon you, to the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you never gave me food. I was thirsty, and you never gave me anything to drink. I was a stranger, and you never made me welcome. Lacking clothes, and you never clothed me. Sick and in prison, you never visited me." Then it will be their turn to ask, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, a stranger or lacking clothes, sick or in prison, and did not come to your help?" Then he will answer, "In truth I tell you, insofar as you neglected to do this to one of the least of these, you neglected to do it for me." Then they will go to eternal punishment, and the upright to eternal life. So, does anyone know anything about goats? Well, I don't.
They're very tasty.
Very tasty. Well, I know someone who does know about goats. My wife used to raise goats when she was a little girl. So I asked her, "What marks out a goat?" And her response was, "Well, they're very independent, they're a bit disobedient, they can cause chaos, and if they've had a bad night, they'll headbutt you in the morning." She did say they can be quite lovable sometimes as well. So they're an animal with a bit of an ego, I would say. St. John Henry Newman once said, "If only we were more obedient to the will of God, we would be so much happier." Now, the less topical subject I want to mention is loneliness, and particularly loneliness in the elderly. Mother Teresa once said, "There is much suffering in the world, physical, material, mental. The suffering of some can be blamed on the greed of others. The material and physical suffering is suffering from hunger, from homelessness, and from all kinds of diseases. But the greatest suffering is being lonely, feeling unloved, having no one. I've come more and more to realise that it is being unwanted that is the worst disease that any human being can ever experience." Now, the average age of my patients, what do you think the average age of my patients in the corridor of A&E is?
84.
75.
Close, I'd say 85. So you're very close.
I'll say that.
So I'm tending to them in the corridors of the hospital because there are no beds in the hospital. And I have quite long conversations with them as I'm tending to them. And the recurring theme, the recurring conversation is loneliness. I remember my mother saying that it was the weekend she dreaded most once my father had died, that loneliness. Many elderly are chronically lonely, and some will go for a week without speaking to anyone except the television set. They may complain of depression. The doctors might give them tablets for their depression, but that's simply a symptom of their loneliness. The world has the highest number of population now than it ever has. So you would expect loneliness would have been on a downward trend, wouldn't you? But it's actually going up. So how as Christians are we going to solve this affliction? Well, years ago, when my own parents lived many, many miles away, I decided that I would adopt an honorary parent in the parish and visit them at least once a week and keep an eye on them. Time is the most precious gift one human being can give another. I remember visiting one kind old lady whose memory was failing, and every time I saw her, she'd forget she'd told me the story already. And it was about a very wise and experienced consultant in the hospital who had missed her gallbladder disease because she presented with pain here and the gallbladder's there. So he missed it completely. I'll never miss that illness again, or that presentation of that illness, and neither will any of my trainees. So her little story was vital to saving a lot of people from suffering. The care I gave to an honorary father was noted by a young parishioner, and he actually thought that this honorary father was my own father, so I must have been doing something good and getting it right for once. So the care I gave my honorary parents, wherever they were, was reciprocated by the parishioners where my parents lived. So they were helped by their honorary children. Now I can hear you saying, well, I've got my own family to look after. But I'll suggest to you that if you could take your own children, if you have children, around to see your honorary parent, they'd learn a valuable lesson in life. And indeed, that's exactly what my mother-in-law did with my wife. When she was a child, she'd be taken to visit the elderly. And of course, when she grew up, that's what she did. She visited the elderly. And that was a valuable lesson in life for her. So, if there were any children here, I'd be saying to them, perhaps you could convince your parents to adopt a grandmother or a grandfather in the parish or the street. And parents, I would remind you that one day you too will be old and perhaps lonely. Now, what's that heresy I was talking about? So when I was growing up, yes, I was young once, there was a recurrent message in the media saying, I can do anything I want to as long as it doesn't adversely affect another person. Sounds very right, doesn't it? That's a real excuse for one's self-serving ego if I ever heard one. It's a modern heresy. Like goats, we all have too much ego. In life, not doing something can be equally as bad as doing something. Spending all your time and money on yourself obviously will have a detrimental effect on humanity and your neighbour. For a Christian, an act of omission can be a great sin. What we don't do is as important as what we do. A sin brings tears to the face of God. How many times have we sinned by not acting when an opportunity presented itself? So when I reflect on the plight of old people and their loneliness, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. We have to do something about this. We do. We have to do something about it. Then perhaps one day you will hear the words, I was lonely and you visited me. In truth, I tell you, Insofar as you did this to one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it to me. Now, if you find this all very hard to sort out in your mind and have a resolve, I just remind you what Mother Teresa said. Never worry about numbers. Keep one person at a time, help one person at a time, and always start with the person nearest you. End of camera.